What's going on, everybody? VHS Tacos is back. Let's cut to the old crap cake. You know why we're here. I know why we're here. She knows why we're here. Opinion time. Thor's been pretty inconsistent as a character. Okay, he's been around 11 years. He hasn't been like Captain America, where he's been pretty firm. Hasn't been like Iron Man, where for the most part, it's been pretty firm. Different writers, different movies, different levels of success here. Not really sure where to go. When we hit Ragnarok, that kind of jump starts the... I will go ahead and put this out there. In my opinion, it kind of jumpstarts the beginning of this arc, of the Thor that we know. Because we go from Ragnarok to Infinity War to Endgame to Love and Thunder. And that's kind of like his... That's kind of like the story here. Circle. Yeah, I mean, you know, we get Jane back in this from the first Thor movie. Endgame, of course, does touch on some stuff that happens. It rectifies a big problem from Thor the Dark World. But I mean, really, these four movies are kind of like his story, really. Kind of like how Cap had the first three Cap movies, and then Infinity War and Endgame. Thor, Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi is back from Thor Ragnarok, and of course, he's back as Korg. This is a really, really good movie. I'll go ahead and I'll say it's a great movie. So far, out of the Phase 4 MCU movies that we've gotten, this has to be my favorite because I wasn't sure what to expect from this. I expected more Ragnarok, but I got something better.
It was so predictable.
One of the biggest complaints about Ragnarok, I personally didn't mind it because I have the brain and the emotional maturity of a 3-year-old, was that it was too goofy, it was too humorous.
People said that?
Yeah,
I love that movie. It's a good movie.
Found it hilarious. Now, I will say, it is an emotional roller coaster. All right? I mean, you're going through different emotions real super quick here. I mean, we're laughing our asses off one second, Odin's dying the next, and you're just like, okay, hold on a second here. That's a little much. We gotta kind of ease ourselves into it. Here,
you know, now that I think about it, a lot of different things happen in Ragnarok that I thought were like completely different movies.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of different movies kind of smashed together. It's still really enjoyable, but
yeah, it's very good.
Tonally, it's all over the place. Love and Thunder really balances itself out better. So it opens up with a nice kind of prequel of sorts, which sets the stage for Christian Bale's Gore, who then becomes Gore the God Butcher. Let me just say it right here.
He did great.
If you want to elevate your movie,
that's Christian Bale.
Get Christian Bale. I mean, the man is fantastic. An issue with some Marvel movies is that the villains can be well, look, they've gotten better. Let's put it that way. Okay, but I mean, Christian Bale, he could have either went way over the top. He could have been, you know what, this is beneath me. F this and the B. I'm out of here.
He did like a perfect, just a steady.
It was a perfect through line. I mean, this is a Christian Bale performance. It's equal parts weird and captivating and intoxicating, but also hilarious and terrifying. And he's really good. He shows that natural progression of the Necro Sword warping and twisting his mind more and more as the movie goes on, until we get to the finale, which we will talk about, of course. Taika Waititi has found a good balance here. It has a good sense of heart, a good sense of soul, a fantastic sense of humor, especially with the goat boat. Don't get me started on the goats, I love them. But he has matured, at least from the last Thor movie to this Thor movie, as a writer and as a director. These action scenes are pretty good. Movie opens up, and Korg is telling the story of Thor. Here he is with the Guardians of the Galaxy, right where we left him at the end of Endgame. And you know what? The Guardians have always had a heart. You know, the movie's always been about family and about love and about heart and soul. And that comes through here in the little bit of screen time that they have along, you know, of course, along with all that crazy humor that they have. And we have some excellent music to jam out to. We have some excellent action scenes that we can rock out with. And from there, Thor kind of goes off on his own to discover himself.
Again!
Yeah, again. But see, that's what these Thor movies have been about, because they have lacked a sense of identity until Taika has jumped in. So it's almost like a fourth wall breaking. They need to find themselves. That leads to multiple journeys and everything like that, but we are adapting the Mighty Thor storyline a little bit. So we do have a Jane Foster who has stage 4 cancer, which...
I'm sorry, I can't.
Look, let me go ahead.
I'm not a fan of Natalie Portman. I'm definitely not a fan of, what's her name? Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings.
Oh my god, that scene was so, it took everything in me to just not walk out. I just can't stand that. Oh,
so,
sorry.
You see where she stands on this. Natalie Portman, she got the very, very, very short end of the stick when it comes to Thor the Dark World. Very short end. It's almost like it didn't exist. So this is a nice, like, welcome back kind of party here for. And she's great. She's great as Jane. She's great as Mighty Thor. And that carries the whole way through the movie. But this is, Chris Hemsworth's show, along with Christian Bale. Chris Hemsworth, he has been Thor, once again, 11 years.
He looks old in this. Did you notice?
That's the point. Old. Have you noticed that these legacy heroes that we have, that have been around since the beginning, they're aging them because they're old.
Those close-up shots, I was like, he looks his age. Like, he looks old.
They're turning him into
which is fine.
Thor from the comics, I mean, they start off as these young Thunder Guns, but they do age. And he does a great job. We have a very world-weary Thor. He doesn't really know what he wants. I mean, it used to be all babes and badass kicking Thorness, and it's just not what he wants anymore. He's getting to that point in his life where he wants something more. He's finally able to meet up with Jane. They're able to reconcile because it shows us a montage of their falling out, which I'm like, wow, okay, this is actually kind of like a real falling out in a relationship, which is interesting, seeing that progression. But they also balance it out, too. What he wants to say to Jane, he's actually kind of pissing off Stormbreaker a little bit, who's jealous that Thor is swooning over Mjolnir again. So everything he wants to say to Jane, he's kind of like saying to Stormbreaker, who is getting equally as moody against him. So it's a very interesting way of handling, letting him get his emotions and his feelings out. Tessa Thompson is back. She is in charge of Asgard. You can see that she is essentially done with the political crap. She misses being in battle.
Yes.
Gore actually brings that up too, that she kind of misses being with her people. I mean, there are other Valkyries that she wasn't able to save, and he uses that with all of his Christian Bale-isms to kind of rub that in her face, and it's frightening, but it's fantastic. But, she is great in the kick-ass department.
Always.
But she also has some emotional scenes as well. Not too many, but there are some nice moments between her and Jane. Some nice little back and forth. But then same thing with her and Thor as well.
Yeah.
She's great. We need to see more of her. And speaking of seeing more of, we do get more Korg. Not so much Meek, though. I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to see more Meek, okay?
I'm
Korg
actually
and Meek.
shocked that we didn't see as much Meek.
I got to see Meek in a suit, okay? So I guess I can cross that off my bucket list.
That was interesting.
But Taika Waititi is back as Korg. And, again, he's great. Korg is that very doofy, lovable guy, but we do get to get a little bit more backstory of him. We get to know what he feels about, love and relationships and stuff like that, which was a nice little touching scene that he couldn't help but throw a Dwayne The Rock Johnson joke in there. Visually, you're not going to see probably anything else like it this year. This movie is bright and colorful, and it's in your face, and it's weird, and it's wild. We saw this in IMAX.
Yes.
The entire movie is not in the full IMAX expanded ratio. I was a little disappointed by that, but a lot of the action scenes are fully expanded, which in the case of the opening action scene with the Guardians, it's very colorful and it's very blown out, it's very vibrant, it's great to look at. And then when we get to the shadow world, so to speak, or the shadow realm where they're tracking down Gore too, you're working with essentially two colors here.
Yeah, that was a nice transition. I can't say visually.
And white. And then, of course, the gray in between. But, man, let me tell you, when it expands out completely and you have that great IMAX screen there in front of you, it's visually impressive, even though you're rocking 2, sometimes 3 colors. And it's very well done. This is a beautiful...
And the music.
Okay, here's the thing.
Very good.
Superhero movies, a lot of superhero movies, the music is very forgettable. I would say the last memorable music that we've gotten from a superhero movie, in my opinion, memorable... soundtrack music the entire way through.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I would say the first Avengers movie.
Oh.
All of the other superhero movies since then, minus a couple tracks here and there, have been so and forgettable. That's not
what I thought you were going to say.
This has a rad, most epic score the entire way through.
I thought you were going to say most excellent.
And most excellent. It's very metal. It's very hair metal. It's very heavy metal the entire way through. And of course, the licensed music that they bring in is even more so. It's great. This is a soundtrack that was sticking with me on the car ride home. That's good, because I'm tired of not being able to be like, the hell was that musical track? I don't remember any of that.
I think my favorite part...
Yes.
Along with the music, I think the kids. I'm sorry, I know I keep talking about that was so. They were awesome.
Anybody that knows me, I hate kid actors. Just because I've been so spoiled by Stranger Things, when they have found the literal gold mine of kid actors, either they overact or they underact. These kids here, though, I need a Disney Plus show or something showing them more. They're great. We got Heimdall's son. And I'm just like, yes, we're continuing his story, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
We'll get to that in a minute. And they were good. They were really good. Oh, there's this one little girl who has a stuffed animal.
Oh
and
my
Thor's
God.
like, I'm giving everybody the power of Thor for a brief period of time. And they all pick up this trash and everything like that.
just like,
And she has this like stuffed animal that can shoot lasers out of its eyes. And I'm like, yes! Yes! Other great moments in there, you do have Russell Crowe as this very egotistical, washed up, overweight Zeus
So
that Thor just
annoying.
throws a lightning bolt through his chest and kills him off. Apparently not, though. The MCU so far for Phase 4 has been going very cosmic, very weird, very multiversal. We finally get to meet Eternity. No words or anything like that are spoken, but I mean, this is like they had Jack Kirby come in and design the character for the big screen. And Eternity is just the outline of a person with the garments on, and you can see the universes within them, and it's beautiful. Like it's my words cannot do it justice. You need to see that like on the biggest, brightest, beautiful
Just that
screen.
part, though.
It's
only come right before that part and then leave it.
show up for the
right.
entire movie. She's psychotic. So we get to the end of the movie, and you know, Gore, his entire thing was kill the gods, because at the beginning his daughter dies. He's just trying to keep her alive. No food, no water, no sustenance or anything like that. And it's a very biblical style story, but like what if it went wrong, essentially, when Moses led his people. And he finally gets to meet his God, you know, the one that they've all been praying to. And he's like, please, I pray to you. You know,
And he doesn't do diddly
there's no
squat.
Yeah, he's an egotistical. He's a prick, and he says, "Oh, you know, whatever. You'll be long dead. I'll find someone else to worship me." Boom, Necro sword comes out of the ground. He's able to kill him, and that starts the whole Gore the God Butcher thing. So we get to the end of the movie, and the whole premise is that whoever lays eyes on Eternity first gets a wish. And his wish the entire movie is, all right, cool, bet. We're going to kill all of the gods. Every single one. Thor,
The
Mighty
revenge.
Thor, you name it. So when we get there, he lays eyes on Eternity, and you're sitting there and you're like, all right, this is where Thor dies. Jane starts to die because the more she uses the hammer, the more that the cancer kind of kicks in and starts to wipe her out. So Thor's like, you know what, Gore, you do your thing, man, whatever. I found love, and I'm going to spend the last moments I have left, love. And so Gore, he's kind of getting that in his head, and he's like,
What's the one true thing that I want?
and it's his daughter, but then he realizes, like, if I bring her back, she's not going to have me. I'm going to die. And so he makes Thor promise, if I bring her back, you need to look after her. And Thor agrees, and you're just like, this is not where I was expecting this to go. So Kid comes back. Gore gets one last heart-to-heart with the child before he dies. Jane dies, but since she's now officially Asgardian, she gold dusts away off into the great Valhalla, and then cut a little bit more into the future, and there's Thor raising the daughter, well, technically niece. He's Uncle Thor now.
Uncle Thor.
But it's interesting though. See, and Korg then continues on with his narration from the beginning and says, you know, Thor found the love and the thunder. And the love being her, and of course him being the thunder. The spoiler is there in the title the entire time, and it's such an interesting way to end the movie.
Yeah.
Thor, he's never been truly happy in all of these movies, minus the first one.
Not really content.
No, but I mean now he has a purpose, which is great. That leads us to our credit scenes. So Hercules pops up.
Yeah.
Because Papa Zeus, who Thor threw a thunderbolt through, is actually not dead. Because he's Zeus. Come on. And essentially, Zeus is like, look, for the longest time here, nobody really cares about us as gods. So it's time to put the fear of gods back into them. And then boom, there we see Hercules. And then that leads us to our last credit scene. So we've been getting a lot of afterlife stuff in the MCU, whether Black Panther and his culture's version of the Great Beyond, and Shang-Chi, their version of the Great Beyond. You got a little bit of it with the Soul Stone here, and now we have Valhalla. Here's Jane, she's up there, she's chilling. And who do we see pop up to help greet her into the afterlife? None other than Heimdall, played by Idris Elba, essentially welcoming her to Valhalla in the Hall of the Gods, which is exciting because that means that we could potentially see the likes of Odin and Frigga come back, along with the Warriors 3, who also perished in Thor Ragnarok. This is exciting stuff here, and who knows who else is over there?
Who knows?
So, they introduced Mighty Thor, plot twist, kill her off, but just like in the MCU, unless you're Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans out of your contract for life, no one ever stays dead. Thor, Love and Thunder is in theaters now. Number ratings are stupid, 3.75 out of 5, whatever. I love the movie. I personally recommend it. If you like Thor Ragnarok, this is the movie for you. But it's a hell of a lot more refined. Mrs. Taka, what say you?
It was okay.
Great soundtrack, great visuals. If you can see this in Dolby, you can see it in IMAX. Just go see it in theater. You need
see it in Dolby.
In Dolby.
That would be cool.
I know what we're doing this weekend. Thor, Love and Thunder,
Nope.
in theaters, probably on Disney Plus in like a month and a half. But see it on the biggest screen possible. Jam out with it. Have a great time. It's fantastic. And until next time, guys, this has been VHS Tacos signing off. I'm going to go book our Dolby tickets right now.
No.
Adios.
Bye.